Hello, everybody, and welcome to our slightly delayed new episode of Dan and Frankie Go to Hollywood. My name's Dan.
And I'm Frankie.
And poor little Frankie's been sick, which is why we weren't here last week. What happened to you?
Well, thanks to a guy at work. Wonderful timing. 2 days before we were going to see Mr. Bungle on the Friday morning, he disappears for a while and then comes back and goes, I have COVID, I'm going home. And I had trained him the day before on something, so I was on the list of watching out for things. And then I woke up on Sunday, the day of Mr. Bungle, and my head was a bit weird, but, you know, that happens. So I was like, I had ordered new tests, and they arrived late in the morning. So I took a test. Oh, what do you know? COVID.
Yes, I did know, because we had all these plans where I was going to meet you in the city, and then JM was going to come and meet up with us, and we were all going to go see Mr. Bungle, which we had been planning for months. And we were so super excited about it. It was going to be the best time ever. And it was going to be the first time you and I actually went to see a band ever since we've known each other as well. And then, I remember that afternoon getting a message from you. And that was slightly devastating to say the least. Arguably the worst timing, but... So
while you were enjoying the beautiful voice of Mike Patton, I was laying in bed with aches and pains all through my body and I couldn't sleep, so I was just laying there going, I could have been at Mr. Bungle now.
Oh no, the show was absolutely terrible. Mike Patton was just, that guy can't sing. What are you talking about? I can't even joke about that. No,
I did see videos from you and someone else that was there, so it's very sad, but at least I got to see videos from it, and
I know
good quality sound.
Look,
fingers crossed, Faith No More, maybe, tour. So that he'll be back. I guess he's got so many projects, it's more likely he'll be back soon.
Oh, he's probably going to be back in some other band, who knows. But no, look, I mean, like, over the years, I have seen hundreds of bands. Like, you know, JM and I, we are concert buddies. We go to so many gigs. And I know I proclaimed it on the night after Bungle. I said, okay, I think that could be the best show I've ever seen. And a week later, I'm still like, yep, you know what? That was the best show I've ever seen. I could not believe how good that show was. It was like nothing I've ever seen before. But, But anyway, that's got nothing to do with movies. So, there's been, I mean... We're playing a little bit of catch up at the moment because there's a few things to talk about. All right. So should we start with a bit of talk about the Oscars? Because that's been and gone.
I actually watched that I don't know if I've ever watched the Oscars, but again, I was sick. I was laying on the couch feeling awful, too awful to do anything, but couldn't sleep. That's how it was. And then I saw that the Oscars were starting soon, so I was like, I'll just put it on and watch it while I'm laying here. So it was kind of in the background a bit, and it was interesting. Two of my favourite actors won Best Actor and Actress, so that was exciting.
Yep. Look, I still haven't watched it. I mean, that day, as you remember, because we'd been chatting all through the day, I just suddenly got so many spoilers. And I wasn't even, I was kind of trying to avoid spoilers, but those damn things, they just pop up in the most unlikely places. And so, I saw a ton of spoilers by the end of the day and just thought, look, whatever. But I'll probably, because I think eventually they put the entire show on YouTube. So I might catch it down the track. But I saw the highlights.
Well, they might still have it on 7+. That's where I was watching it.
Oh, okay. Look, I saw the important bits. I saw the Ryan Gosling "I'm Just Ken" performance where Slash appeared on stage, which, as I said to you, I mean, it just said so much about me when I'm sitting there and the camera's on Ryan, but I'm like, oh, can you either put it back on Slash or Margot Robbie? Like, one
I
of
know
those
when
two.
that started and he was like right behind her and being all cute, I was like, oh, Dan's gonna like this. And then it got to a bit
Yeah.
later and suddenly Slash turns up and I was like, oh yeah, he's definitely gonna like this.
Oh man, there were so many things I loved about that thing. And yeah, Ryan was good too. And I saw the bit with Schwarzenegger and DeVito with Michael Keaton in the crowd, the Batman
so
thing.
good. Yeah.
That was really, really cool. I think there was something else I saw, and I can't even remember now, because that's the thing with the Oscars; it just sort of comes.
Well,
and
I mean,
goes,
they're those two things were the highlights for me.
Yeah, I'm sure there was something else I saw. Look, I can't even remember now, but yeah, overall, I don't know. Yeah, as you know, I'm not the biggest Oppenheimer fan, but congratulations to Oppenheimer, and congratulations to all the people who love that movie, of which there are many, many of you out there. So I'm happy that you're happy.
I wouldn't put it as best picture, but
No.
Cillian Murphy is such a good actor, so I'm happy that he got recognized for that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But speaking of good actors, I love the way I just segue into everything. You're a pretty big fan of old Billy Skarsgård, aren't you?
Yeah, this is pretty funny because when we were originally meant to record, the photos had just come out, and now we've got the trailer as well. But when the photos came
what,
out,
though? What are we talking about? We haven't talked about what movie it is yet. You poor viewers out there. Viewers? No, you're not viewers. You're listeners.
Everyone's been talking about this, I'm sure.
We are, of course, talking about the Crow remake. Yeah.
Yeah, and those horrific pictures that came out and terrified us all. And then I thought, and lots of people thought this online, everyone's like, well, that looks crap, but if anyone can pull off something good, it's going to be Bill Skarsgård.
Mm-hmm.
And then the trailer came out.
Now, yeah, let me just go back a little bit here. It's like, ever since 1994, the love I have for that original film is like nothing else. It is my third favorite movie of all time. And I mean, when you consider that there are billions of movies out there, that is my number 3 most favorite movie of all time. That should emphasize just how much I love the film. So yeah, when those photos came out, I was skeptical, to say the least. I didn't like what I was seeing. Bill Skarsgård's great. I think the guy is terrific. Not just as an actor, he just seems like such a cool dude, from interviews I've seen with him and everything as well. But yeah, I wasn't getting Crow vibes. Now, I'm not just comparing it to the original film. I have the original comic books by James O'Barr as well. Like, when that movie came out, I collected freaking everything, and, well, actually, the comics, I think, were reprints of the originals, but you know what I mean. So, yeah, I was not getting Crow vibes from those pictures. But, you know me, I'm the sort of person who's like, okay, I'm going to reserve judgment. These are just still pictures because, unlike some people, I don't believe you can judge a film based on a couple of still images. It's impossible. But yeah, that trailer came out and oh fucking hell. Oh, it's not good. It's and not just because it doesn't look like The Crow. Like, I mean, I get, if you're going to remake a film, you put your own slant on it or whatever, that kind of thing. But it just looks to me like another ultra-violent John Wick-style action film that we've seen dozens of times before. I mean, that's the thing with the original Crow. When that came out, there wasn't really much to compare it to. It had such a unique vision. It was just in a class of its own. It was so unique. And yeah, this new version just looks, you watch the trailer, it's like, yeah, seen that before. So yeah.
It's like it was seeing people say stuff like they just, took the name Eric Draven for the cash in name thing, but it's just, whatever random movie, but just put that name on it.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I look, I might still go see it out of curiosity, but and I'm still thinking to myself, okay, it's just a trailer, it's not the whole movie, so maybe, just maybe, the film might be good.
I just, it's such a wasted opportunity for a hot, long-haired goth Bill Skarsgård.
Yeah, exactly. I know. I mean, like a lot of people are saying the same thing, that they should have done a different character, because I mean, the crow mythos, has different characters, that are being brought back to life, and like, yeah, do a different thing. Don't, tread on this sacred ground.
It's weird. Like, I don't know why they did that when they've made it so different. And there's been other Crow movies, so it's definitely been done. And I've got some of the books too, so I've read some different versions of it. So
yeah,
why
right.
Eric Draven?
I don't know. I kind of get the impression that they thought, oh, this movie is 30 years old now, which, oh boy, that's really a challenge to think about. But maybe they thought, okay, like, the movie was so great, we got to bring it to a modern audience, the people that do thrive on the John Wick films, like, let's
yeah, well, I guess that's the thing, a lot of young people aren't even going to know the original, so they're just, it's all new to them, so they don't know the horror that we all feel.
yeah, God, how old do we sound right now, seriously? Like...
Well, I'm seeing a lot of talk online at the moment about how it's becoming a really common thing with young people that they will not watch movies from before they were born. And so I'm seeing all these anecdotal stories from people who are like teaching film students, and they will bring in a film. What was the one recently? Oh, The Matrix.
Right.
And then people hadn't seen The Matrix and just seemed half horrified that they were being asked to watch something that came out from before they were born.
Oh, good Lord.
So right. I think with the streaming age seems to be people just watch what's there and don't explore as much and go back.
Oh, yeah.
Because, I mean, obviously when we were kids, we were watching stuff from the 70s and stuff in the 90s and older. So, I mean, but, that was stuff that was on TV. So maybe that's the difference.
And that's the thing. That's, I mean, I've said it before on previous episodes that streaming has really made movies a lot more disposable. It's, people don't go to a video store and hold something in their hands and, I can give money to somebody to bring this home and watch it. And there's not as, or go out somewhere to pay someone that I can sit in a theater and watch something being projected onto a screen. Like, yeah, they don't have that kind of thing that we did because we're old. Yeah. But anyway, look, I mean, the thing is, so I've got two kids who are due in only a couple of months' time or so, and they're going to be raised the right way. They're going to be respecting movies that were, oh God, because can you imagine if my kids grew up to only appreciate movies from when they were born onwards? Like, they'd only like things from this year onwards. Like, there would be no Deadly Prey in their lives. There would be no Star Wars.
Oh, that's going to be some discussions, I think, between you and Kylie as the years go on. It's like, what age is appropriate for X film, and just what age can you introduce certain films to them?
Oh, we're showing our kids The Exorcist when they're 5 years old or so, honestly. Like, yeah. Look, I started watching horror movies when I was 7. I mean, I remember my dad used to rent a lot of horror films, which is really weird because now he just doesn't care about movies at all. Like, I don't even know if he watches them anymore. But yeah, he used to rent a lot of horror films, and so I remember when Friday the 13th came out, and The Omen, and a really cool movie called Hell Night, which I got on DVD eventually because that had so much childhood nostalgia for me. But yeah, I used to watch all of those things. And, I mean, okay, I would say I turned out normal. A lot of people wouldn't. But, I mean, I haven't turn into like a serial killer or
I
anything.
think it depends. Like some people can't handle anything. I
Mm,
I don't think I got exposed to a lot of horror films really young, but I do remember being about, because I was in stand 3, maybe like 9 or 10 or something. I remember the It miniseries.
yep.
My mum said that me and my brother could watch it, but we had to watch it during the daytime and was not scared at all. And in my was maybe like 12 or 13 when I saw The Exorcist, which I think I've mentioned before, but we stayed up as late as we could so it would be the most scariest time, and then we thought it was boring. And Pet Sematary I saw when I was 12, which I remember because it was my friend's birthday sleepover. And yeah, I don't get nightmares from films or anything. But I mean, that said, I know some people do get shown things when they're quite young and it traumatizes them. This, of course, is
That
people
is
on
true.
horror podcasts. So a lot of the
Yeah.
time, even though they're scared and a lot of them stopped watching horror completely, they like came back to it later on.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, yeah, obviously everybody's different. I mean, there are obviously people who will watch movies as kids and grow up to be Jeffrey Dahmer or whatever. But it was always difficult when I worked in video stores because you'd get parents coming up to the counter with, you know, some kind of hardcore action movie or a horror film or something like that, and then, you know, say to me like, "Oh, you know, would you recommend this, you know, for, you know, if kids were watching or something like that?" And I'm just always, yeah, of course I would. Like, go for it, you know. And then, yeah, they'd come back
And then
angrily
you
the
have to
next
think,
day.
how much does your personality influence movies versus movies influence your personality? Because,
Ooh.
you know, then I saw things like Beetlejuice and stuff when I was young, and I was obsessed with, what was her name, Lydia Deetz,
Yep.
Winona Ryder in that, and you know, and then movies like The Craft and everything. Like, do I have a dark soul that drew me to all these kind of goth weird things, or did they influence me?
That is a good question because, I mean, yeah, like right now I'm looking at, you've got your black hair, your studded spike collar on, your PVC dress, and I can barely see your eyes for the makeup. Actually, is that corpse paint you're wearing tonight? It certainly looks like it. Anyway, yeah, you look great. So, yeah, but anyway, look, I don't think we should waste too much time talking about The Crow right now, especially because, I mean, I don't know about you, but I would love to talk about the original. I mean, how much fun would that be?
Yeah, well, it's got me thinking about it again because I actually have not seen it for quite a number of years, and I even upgraded to Blu-ray maybe 2 years ago now, and I still
Right.
haven't got round to watching it, even though I have this nice, like, crisp Blu-ray now after just DVD and perhaps even video
Oh
back
man!
for years.
If only we had some sort of reason, some sort of excuse for you to bust it out and watch it. I don't know. Oh, I know. How about we make that our main movie on the next podcast episode?
Let's cleanse our minds of
Yes.
this new thing and
Good
go
idea.
back to the good old super goth, hot, long-haired Brandon Lee and just enjoy ourselves.
Oh yes. No, I think that's a great
90s
idea.
goodness.
Yeah. Oh man, it is just one of that is peak '90s cinema. That one and soundtracks. But anyway, that's another discussion. Let's not get into it now. All right. So you heard it here first, people. That'll be our main movie that we will talk about on the next episode. But for now, so now that it's been like, I don't know, 12 weeks or something since we last did an episode, give or take. What you been watching?
Well, that's what it feels like. I feel that this last week when I was sick was just felt like so much longer than a week. So everything I watched, because I did not have the brain power to watch movies when I was sick, which annoyed me because I'm like, I have nothing to do for this week except lay here and I can't even distract myself with movies.
Goodness
So
me.
everything I watched feels like a long time ago, but what to start with? Let's start with my favorite movie of the year so far of current releases.
Yep.
And we watched, because you saw it too,
I saw it too.
Lisa Frankenstein,
Yeah,
which
we
I
did.
was very excited for because it just looked so fun and sounded good, and it's like a kind of a little rom-com, but a bit dark and violent, and yeah, so this was a movie. Hang on, I need to get my review up.
I'm actually
It's
looking
so
at.
long.
I'm looking at your review
so
right now. What would you like to
excited,
know? The fact that
Well,
it
I
had
just
3 likes. That might have
oh,
been from me, Kylie, and Nobbins. I'm guessing. I don't
yeah.
know.
No, the
Oh no, it was me, Nobbins, and someone else.
so yeah, this movie felt like it was made for me in every way because the like the style of everything, and you know, besides the cute romance story, kind of.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just felt like everyone was really good. Cole Sprouse was really good, considering you know he's basically silent acting through the movie, so he's got to do a whole lot with gestures and things. But yeah, I just feel like if I had been a teenager when I'd seen it, it would have just I would have been completely obsessed. Like when I saw The Craft when I was a teenager,
Yeah.
it's just so much fun.
It was fun. I absolutely loved it. I loved the quirkiness of it. I loved that a lot of times it felt like you were watching a Tim Burton film when it's not a Tim Burton film. In fact, it was directed by Zelda Williams, the daughter of the late Robin Williams. But
Cole Sprouse actually did have quite a Johnny Depp ness to him in a number of scenes, just with his facial expressions. And
he
things.
definitely was Johnny Depp if you buy him from Wish. But yeah. Yeah, I just thought the performances of the characters were just so enjoyable, but the look of everything, and I even remember, I mean, like this is going back to, hang on, when was it that I watched it? That was on the 2nd of this month, so, you know, we're talking 16 days ago, but I still really remember so much of it. Like, the lighting in this film was superb. The use of neon colors and stuff, and just the way that they lit wide shots. Like I remember there was this one shot from, I think it was across the street or something of the house in which she lived, and like it was lit pink or something, and like there was just so many moments in the film that really wowed me with the look of it all. But yeah, it was a very quirky little sort of dark twisted love story, and yeah, definitely the characters in it were what really sold it for me. I
was really
film.
happy. I know I paused it, it's like 20 minutes in or something, and I messaged you and Nobbins and was saying how amazing it was, and if it kept going so well, it was going to be like one of the best films, and it kept going. And so yeah, I gave it 4.5 stars because unless a movie completely blows me away, like Prisoners, I tend to not give 5 stars on a first watch sometimes because I don't know. I feel like to get 5 stars, it either has to be a complete masterpiece or have that rewatchability. And so some movies are kind of one and done, sort of. And then other ones you can watch again and again. So I gave it 4.5, but when I watch it again, I think there's a good chance it could go up to 5.
I'm pretty sure, because I gave it 4.5 as well, and I think it might have been for that exact same reason. I can't remember because I didn't write a review of it, but I think it was for that same reason. It was the sort of film that is just so much goddamn fun while you're watching it, but how quickly would you rush back to watch it again? And that is defined by another movie that I'll talk about soon, but in a little while.
Mine's maybe not how quickly, because I have a lot of films to watch, so I don't always get back to things really quickly. But I mean, I can still be excited to watch them. I did want to get back to this one and watch it again, but I haven't had the chance yet. But I definitely look forward to watching it again.
Plus, you've almost been dead, so there was that too.
I was not that bad.
Yeah, okay, the jury's out there, but anyway. Speaking of interesting, weird, quirky characters, there was another film that we both watched as well. For me, I watched it on the same day, and that was Poor Things. we finally got around to seeing Poor Things after so freaking long of waiting to see this movie.
Yeah.
Because we had all these plans before we were going to record our first... Actually, no, it was on the day we were going to record the first episode of the... Oh, no, it wasn't the podcast. It was the top 10 movies of last year. We were going to record that video and go see Poor Things and, make a day of it.
That's right, because I had been misled to believe that it would be out here on Boxing Day.
Yeah, but...
And it played... Apparently it played some places from Boxing Day, but not anywhere near me.
Yeah, or me. It didn't get anywhere. So, but because, screw the system, we're better than them, we managed to see it. And yeah, I liked it. I definitely didn't love it, especially like the way that a lot of people out there did. And that is not to say that I thought it was a bad film by any means. So don't turn this podcast off right now and go, ooh, he said bad things about Poor Things. Oh, bad things about Poor Things. Anyway, yeah. What did you think of that film?
It wasn't the masterpiece I hoped it would be from the way everyone was talking about it, but, I'm kind of used to that now. But, I think, I've seen a few other Lanthimos films, and I definitely wouldn't put this one at the top of the list. I feel like this is kind of going back to what we were just saying before. I really liked this, and it was great, but... it's not a rewatchable film for me. Like, the story is kind of not one that I would want to keep going back and revisiting. So I think that maybe brought it down a bit for me. But I mean, obviously Emma Stone was amazing, and can't believe all the work she put into that character, and not just for what she was doing, but the whole filming of it and remembering what stage she was at with the character for each scene and everything like that. She seems to be a very hard worker.
Yeah. So I had not seen any of Yogurt Lithium's films before. This was my first, and my gateway film into his work. And yeah, look, there's no denying that visually the movie was stunning. My goodness, I'm just sitting there just soaking in all of, every frame of this film was a work of art. There's no denying that. I thought the makeup, costumes, performances, on a technical level, the film was fantastic. I truly believe Emma Stone deserved the Oscar. If you haven't seen the Oscars, sucked in, there's a spoiler. But at the end of the day, I just kind of felt, despite having such an amazing central character and, such a brilliant performance behind it, overall, it just didn't, the story just didn't really grab me that much. I kind of felt like there was a lot of familiarity with what I was watching. I just kind of got to the end of it and thought, yeah, that was interesting, but I don't know if I'd watch it again unless I wanted to see Emma Stone naked again. But I mean, what? Yeah. But no,
we'll get you eventually somehow to watch his other films.
Oh yeah, no, I'm now that I've seen that, I'm keen to see more of Yogurt's stuff. But I mean, the one thing that I did notice on Letterboxd with Poor Things was the amount of people banging on about how that whole thing about a tale of feminism and woman power, obviously directed by a man, and there is so much vitriol and everything online about how sexist the film was and how they're sexualizing children and all this sort of stuff. And yeah, I'm just wow.
Good old internet.
Yeah, I get where people are coming from, but at the same time, just turn that off and enjoy the film, you know? Like, not everything has to be some big social commentary and stuff, you know? I mean, sometimes you can just enjoy Emma Stone's boobs. Sorry. Sometimes you can just enjoy pretty visuals and, you know, amazing costumes and great performances and not have to look too deeply into things. But yeah, no, that was crazy how many people just absolutely attacked that film. So if you think I'm bad for only giving it 3 stars, get on Letterboxd and have a look at what other people are saying, because anyway, that's...
And one more positive to end on. Mark Ruffalo, hilarious.
Oh, yeah. He was great, yeah. And yeah, just...
Do you know what I didn't even notice until it's going around online? And it makes me want to watch it again just to find the scene. That there's a scene that he's stuffed up and they left it in the film.
Oh, really? Oh, I'll have to look into that. That's interesting.
I'll find it and send it to you.
All right.
And because he kind of messes up a thing and he like looks to camera and kind of just repeats it. And everyone was saying how funny it was that Yorgos obviously thought it was funny, so he left it in.
Yeah. Oh, wow. That's interesting. All right. Well, that'll give me an excuse to watch it without Kylie going, damn it, Dan, are you watching Emma Stone's boobs again? And I'll be like, no, I've got to watch this Mark Ruffalo thing. I just don't know where it is, so I'll have to watch the whole film. And I don't know why it just paused on this particular moment. It's a coincidence. Anyway, what else you been watching?
Well, I rewatched Life because
here we go.
I haven't seen that since at the cinema, and I remembered really liking it, and I purchased the Blu-ray, and then I know that you don't, and I was like, am I remembering it wrong? Like, was it really as good as I remember? So I watched it again, and no, it is. It's a really fun film. I don't understand.
Is it though?
The hate. It is.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, after you were talking about it, I was kind of thinking to myself, I know I saw it at the cinema, because that was around when my YouTube channel had just kind of started, and so I was seeing everything. And I didn't think I enjoyed it. And then I didn't watch my review, but I just skipped to the end where I give things a rating, and I saw that I gave it a 2 out of 10.
Yeah. No, I watched your review and it was super harsh, and I'm like, I don't know what was going on with you then, that you just seem to have a real vendetta against the film. And I mean, it's not an original story. Like, they're in space and they find this thing, and you know, then it's like alien thing after them. But you mean how? So what? It's fun. It's like people complaining about possession movies, saying it's not as good as The Exorcist. What's the point? It's like you can have more than one film doing the same stories, and if it's a good time, then you know. It's a good time. Yeah,
there it is. Yeah, okay. Look, I don't remember it. I don't remember what I said about it. All
the bad things. You said, like, you like Ryan Reynolds, and even him in it was nothing for you.
Well, look, maybe because I'm very much aware that sometimes you can watch a film with the wrong frame of mind or whatever.
Yeah, it was like your Captain Marvel.
Well, I was flu-ridden.
I know, but that's what I mean. Like, sometimes there's a reason why you might not enjoy something, but then when you watch it again later, you're like, oh, it wasn't that bad. Yeah,
so I might give it another chance.
I don't know, I'm scared if you're going to watch it and still have so much hate for it. I don't get it.
Yeah, look, I won't judge you. I you know, it's perfectly okay to be wrong. But, yeah. No, look, I'll probably give it a go at some point. But there was a film, though, that I watched that, I have been dying to see this film ever since it was released last year. But it only had very limited screenings around the world that the director was sending out. And I didn't get to see it, and then I thought, oh, hopefully it'll go online at some point. But no, the director was selling the DVD, which would have cost me, I think, $70 to $80 to purchase. And from what I've seen online, all you get with this DVD, it's not even in a DVD case or anything. It is just a burnt disc with a stick-on circular label on it inside a jewel case, a blank jewel case, not even an insert or anything. And so I hear people asking, which director would do such a thing? Are you talking about Martin Scorsese? Are you talking about Steven Spielberg? No, I'm talking about Neil Breen, because there cannot be an episode of Dan and Frankie Go to Hollywood without me talking about Neil fucking Breen. So, of course, the film is Cade the Tortured Crossing, which is a sequel to one of his other shit films, which Twisted Pair, I think it was, where he played twin brothers, one with a really bad fake stick-on mustache and beard. I'm not kidding. So I wanted to see this film so badly, and somebody, bless their cotton socks, put it on YouTube for me. Well, not specifically for me, but I know that it was for me. So I got to see it, and I at the time I thought, I better download it off YouTube just in case, Breen's like, why I order, and shaking his fist and stuff. And I'm glad I did, because it only lasted a few days on there before it did get taken down. So I watched this thing. Oh, man. Look, I will watch everything this man releases till the end of time, because I am fascinated by how terrible his films are. And this is not one of those things like, Steve Rudzinski said about how, movies that are classed as so bad they're good, quite often they're not actually bad. They're just misunderstood. No, Neil Breen's films are not misunderstood. And I just watch these things with this peculiar sense of fascination as to how they get made, and this film, it's not an easy film to get through. The entire movie is filmed against green screens, or green screen as they're called. Which just looks weird, because they're just like static JPEGs for backgrounds with the actors, doing their thing. Actually, what am I saying? Actors, with people standing in front of the camera saying lines. It didn't have the same sense of fun as some of his other films had. Like I gave it a 2 out of 5 on Letterboxd, which was being really generous.
I was going to say, that sounds pretty high.
That was mainly because it still had that fascination for me. I still did have that thing where I'm sitting there thinking to myself, this is really hard to watch, but oh God, I've got to see what happens next, So it did have that sort of thing that I do love about his films, just not as much as other ones, but... it has been taken off YouTube, but if any of you people out there are such rotten people that you use Pirate Bay, I can confirm that there is a copy on Pirate Bay going around, and no, I did not put it there. So there are ways of seeing it, but so that film, wow, can we talk about something else? What else did you see?
Well, I watched the movie Blink, which is a 90s thriller of what seems to be a bit of a subgenre of characters, especially women, who have eyesight issues and then get some kind of eye surgery, and then there's weird things, often supernatural. This one's not supernatural, but so this woman's a violinist and she is blind, and which leads to a hilarious opening scene. This is an Aidan Quinn film. And the opening scene, he's a cop and he's at the bar with his buddies and she's playing with the band and they're talking about how good looking she is. So he's like, I'll get her to smile at me, and does like a bet with the guys. So he goes up and starts dancing, and she's of course ignoring him because she's blind. So he's doing all this stuff to get her attention, and then he starts stripping and doing this full like striptease. It's just the most hilarious and like cringy opening scene. But anyway, so she gets this surgery so that she can see, and so afterwards her eyesight's blurry, and there's this thing that apparently happens where your brain takes a while to process what you see. So sometimes when you see stuff, it's all blurry, and then later you think it's just happened even though it was hours ago.
Oh,
something.
okay,
It's this
right.
weird thing. Anyway, so she hears noises from her neighbor upstairs, and then she sees a guy leaving on the stairs, and she thinks it's the building manager, and then later on realizes it's not. But then so she's trying to tell the cops about it, and they don't believe her, and it just becomes this thing of she is helping Aidan Quinn figure out who murdered her neighbor. And all of this, and while this stuff's going on with her eyes, which is actually pretty interesting, that the way they shot what she's seen and how it comes back to her and everything.
Okay.
But it's such a weird movie because there's also, some people call this an erotic thriller. I don't know if it's technically classed as one of those, but it should not be if it is, because it's not erotic. There's a research. Sorry, I had a pop-up and I lost my train of thought.
Uh-oh, you got derailed.
Yeah, because it's saying I have low space
Oh.
on the computer, so...
Yeah. Oopsie daisy. That's all those cat memes that you've been downloading. And photographs of Ted Pryor's penis. But anyway, sorry, yes, please, continue.
So there's a bit of a romance.
Speaking of Ted Pryor's penis...
Yeah, that's not right.
Well, there we go. Another golden segue.
Those pictures are more erotic than this film was. I must say that.
Wow. Oh, that needs to be a blurb on the back of the DVD cover. For an erotic thriller, pictures of Ted Pryor's penis far more turned me on. Yeah. Anyway.
So there's a couple of romance scenes. There's one cute romance scene that I liked because they're having coffee at a cafe and they're talking about this killer. So I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool that you're just kind of having a date, but you're talking about this killer and, why he's doing it and all this kind of stuff. But then Aidan Quinn's character is just a complete asshole.
Oh.
So he's terrible. But you're apparently supposed to like him.
Oh, okay.
And then there's a sex scene that is the most unromantic sex scene possibly that I've ever seen.
Wow.
And I know that's not Aidan Quinn because I just watched that Reckless movie that had one of the hottest sex scenes I've seen in a movie. This one, she did not look like she was into it at all, but apparently she was. Yeah. But it was just really... It was weird.
But see, that's the thing. And this is what I've been saying in previous episodes. I mean, if that scene had Michael Dudikoff in the role, she would have been into it. Oh my God. She would have been... And that would have been sizzling. Absolutely sizzling. So, yeah, if you had put Ted Pryor or Michael Dudikoff in there, maybe not at their age that they are now, but
this was in the 90s, so
yeah,
it's only a handful of years after our whole 1985 discussion.
Yeah, exactly. So no, those two men were still leading.
But no, but I just said that it wasn't Aidan Quinn because he can do hot. So.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah.
Anyway. So overall, it was a hard one to rate, but the thriller part of it in the story makes it interesting enough to watch.
Okay.
But yeah, it was the kind of movie where you just, I guess maybe it was a 90s thing to write characters like Aidan Quinn and you're supposed to go, well, he's a complete jerk, but, we want the happily ever after at the end.
And people will like him because he's Aidan Quinn, so...
Well, I mean, I like him because he's Aidan Quinn, but the character in this film I do not like at all.
Yeah. Fair enough. Well, yeah, no, that's interesting because, yeah, no, I am familiar with the film. I remember the video cover and stuff, but, yeah, I have not seen it. But speaking of video covers, that's another segue. God, I can do this all day. So, recently I went perusing my shelves up in my movie room because I just had a hankering to watch something I hadn't seen before, and preferably something that I actually owned that I hadn't seen, because there's a few of those. And so I started in the A section, And I'm going along and I'm looking, and then I came across this Blu-ray of a movie called Another Earth, and I was like, what the hell's this? I don't know what this is. And I had a look at it, and it was weird. It was still in its shrink wrap, had a JB Hi-Fi buy two get one free sticker on it, and I'm like, I never bought this film. And it occurred to me because a few years ago, and this is just one of the weird things that happens in my life. So I one day went to open my front door and I saw a big cardboard box sitting on my doorstep. And I thought, okay, this is weird. It didn't look like it had been posted to me. It was just kind of open and stuff. So anyway, I brought it inside and had a look. And it was this box that was full of Blu-rays, DVDs, a Star Wars mug, a pair of Star Wars socks, just a whole bunch of random weird stuff. And for a while, I did not know who the hell had gifted me this box of stuff. And a lot of the movies were really good too. But it turns out, I found out eventually that it was a friend of the show, Sean Dellett, aka Buffy Prescott. Everybody go look up Buffy Prescott on Spotify and YouTube and everywhere. This guy is an absolute musical legend. So yeah, he had gifted me this box of movies, and I'm pretty sure it must have been in that, because I would have never bought this movie. I didn't even know what it was. So anyway, I looked on the back of it and I read about how it was this film about, how there's a Earth-like planet that comes within proximity to our own, and the central character is this girl who, as a teenager, she causes a DUI accident where she winds up killing an entire family except for this the father of the family, and then she sort of forms a connection with him or something, and I just thought, it sort of sounds interesting, let's give it a go. Oh my god, this movie, I was utterly mind blown by how good this film was. It was nothing like I expected. So yeah, it's the funny thing is, you'd sort of think that by the sound of it, it's kind of like a sci-fi sort of film, but it's not at all. The whole premise of this second Earth is just like a background thing in the story. It is not what the movie is about. It is a character study about, about this girl and what she's done and how she's trying to, rectify things, and it's about redemption, it's about guilt, it's about so many. It's a deep film. It's fascinating, the story about how it was made, because the director, Mike Cale, he didn't even have a budget when he wanted to start making this thing. They had $50 and they bought a janitor's outfit because this girl gets a job working as a janitor in a high school. That is all they had. And there's a scene where, because she goes to prison for 4 years, and when she's coming out of prison, the way they filmed that was completely guerrilla style. That was guerrilla, not gorilla. They didn't eat bananas and throw feces or anything. They got her to go into the prison and pose as a yoga instructor looking for work or something like that. And then as she was coming out, they filmed that, and that was the scene that made it into the film. So it was really fascinating. And then they kind of started getting together a budget and, locations and everything. It all came together. But so it's very minimalist. It's really just about these two people and this weird connection that they form. Not a lot of locations and stuff. The ending, I thought, was kind of like Prisoners in a way. It was one of those endings that you're sort of sitting there, you're thinking to yourself, oh, how's this going to... And then it ends and you're like, oh my god! And then it stops. It's, very abrupt, and you're left thinking, oh my god, what actually happens now? But it's not in an annoying way. It's designed for you to try and fill in the blanks. It's not kind of like, okay, we know what happened, but you have to figure it out.
I like those endings. There's a movie that
man.
I'm waiting for you to watch that has that kind of ending that
Oh,
just
okay.
invites like discussing it and
Ooh, do I
like
get to know what that movie is now?
no.
Or oh, damn it. So yeah, no, that movie absolutely blew my mind. I would have given it a perfect 5 stars, except there was one thing that I'm not going to say because it's kind of a spoiler, but there was just one thing that happened with the two characters that I just thought didn't seem right. You know, it didn't feel like that thing would happen. And I don't know why they threw that in there, and it didn't serve the story in any sort of way. Yeah, so, but it was the kind of thing that, like, look, you can overlook it because everything else around that one little nitpick was so damn good. Even the way it was filmed, you know, it's filmed very much like a documentary. You know, there's a lot of handheld camera and stuff, and it sort of gave it a sense of realism. The effects were really good as well. You know, like the whole thing with the planet being visible in the sky and stuff was really fascinating. Yeah, I love the film. So it is streaming on Disney Plus if anybody wants to know about that, because yeah, I cannot recommend that film enough. It is so goddamn good. So yeah, that was a surprise.
Well, I had a surprise too with this film, which is my second favorite film of the year that of older releases. Basically, there's kind of two movies that go together, because I had wanted to watch Master Gardener because that had turned up on some people's best of year lists for last year, and then I read that it was kind of part of this Paul Schrader series of Man in a Room or Man Alone in a Room or something like that.
Right.
That goes with First Reformed, which I watched a few years back, whenever it was, and really loved it and gave it 5 stars. So I was like, okay, well, before I watch Master Gardener, I'll watch The Card Counter, because that's also one of those films and came out first. So I got both of them. I watched The Card Counter first because it was, you know, chronologically released first.
Right.
And turns out it's way better than Master Gardener.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, so good. I don't know how much I can say about it, because it's the kind of movie you're following this guy. He's just come out of prison. He learnt to count cards in prison.
Right.
And so he spends his days going around casinos, counting cards, winning just enough to get by, not any too big of wins. And that's his life. And you're kind of just following him, and eventually he meets this woman who he kind of knew before, and she's someone that I can't remember what they call it now. She has a stable where she finds investors for people to go into the poker tournaments.
Oh, yeah.
To win, and so she offers him that, and they're talking about it, and then he meets this other young guy, and that's all I'm going to say, because stuff sort of starts coming out about like his past and why he's like doing this, and he's like sitting there in his hotel room where he's covered everything in sheets, and he's like writing in his journal, because that's the, you know, Man Alone in a Room, so he's narrating stuff. So it's really interesting because you kind of get to know him from his thoughts that he's writing down and just following. And I think maybe it kind of depends perhaps on how interested you are in the character to just stay, because a lot of the movie's just following him until like near the end. You find out a lot more and some stuff happens.
Right.
But yeah, I just found it completely fascinating. I was like on board. I was like riding along, 4-star film the whole way, and then like the last part happened, and I was just like, whoa, this is amazing. Okay. So yeah, one of those films that I straight away jumped online to hunt down a Blu-ray, which was quite hard to find, but I found it, and it's now in my collection.
Well, that does sound like a pretty cool movie, and yeah, I remember, like, from things that you've been saying, I am very intrigued about checking it out, because yeah, I'm actually, I don't know if you knew this about me, I'm actually really good at card counting myself. Like I can.
Well, apparently, I found I was looking up stuff online after, and I was saving interviews and stuff. And Oscar Isaac plays the guy, and I found him fascinating. So I was looking up stuff, and I found this video about real card counters watching scenes from the movie, and apparently, it's completely not accurate at all of how you count cards.
Well, good for you for utterly destroying my joke that I was about to say. Like, honestly, I don't even know if I'm going to bother now. I was going to say, I'm really good at counting cards. Like, I can just pick up a deck and get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but you just jumped in and ruined the whole thing, which probably made it funnier than my actual joke. So, so in a way, maybe I should thank you, because the joke would have been really lame, and there probably would have just been like, 5 seconds of dead silence with crickets chirping after I said the punchline. But you just made that moment even funnier. So, wow.
Well, there we go.
Thanks.
Anyway, and so now I'm watching Moon Knight.
Ah, very good. Yeah, I liked that show. That was quite good. Well, I also watched another movie, which is kind of the reason we're here. A movie that I've sort of been curious about it, but Kylie has this list of movies that she's forcing me to watch, which is fine, because I've got a whole list of things that I can get right back at her. Things like Serbian film and stuff. No, anyway. So there was one movie that she wanted to show me, and I was like, all right, it doesn't sound like something I'll like, but let's give it a go. And that was Strictly Ballroom.
I can't believe you've never seen that.
It's got the word ballroom in the title. What can I say?
It's an Australian classic.
Exactly, which is why
from the 90s.
I know, which is why I thought I should give this movie a go, because I've spent 32 years hearing about this film, and I should probably actually watch it. Now, it's not so much the ballroom thing. The thing for me that was kind of a hindrance is Baz Luhrmann. I just can't get into that guy's stuff. I find his films, for the most part, are just way too busy. Like, he films things from so many different angles, but edits quickly between all these different angles, and there's like his sense of humor I don't get. There's just like Elvis, I remember when that came out, like, there was a scene where two people are talking and they're not moving around anywhere, they're just standing there talking, and it was filmed from like I think 12 different angles and he used every one of those angles for this simple shot of two people talking, and it's like, man, there's a fine line between adding energy to your shots and just going freaking
That sounds
manic.
like what you were saying about Madam Web.
Yes, exactly. Admittedly, Strictly Ballroom I liked more than I liked Madam Web, but anyway, look, so I watched it, and yeah, look, I gave it 2.5. It was, for me, middle ground. I did like the characters, I did like the story, but just Baz Luhrmann's flashiness, it just put me right off. I think the only film of his that I've seen and liked was Romeo and Juliet, which I know that film had a lot of flashiness to it as well, but I'll have to watch it again at some point, because I don't know why I liked that film so much.
I do. It was the 90s and it was Leonardo DiCaprio.
And I can't
Strictly Ballroom, I haven't seen for years and years. I can't even tell you what I think of it because it's been too long. So I'll have to watch it again one day.
Yeah, fair enough. I was going to say with the Leonardo DiCaprio thing, I can't really say too much about Claire Danes because I'm pretty sure she was only like 16 when she filmed Romeo and Juliet. So, yeah, I ain't going there. But yeah, no, yeah, look, I didn't mind it while I was watching it. It was okay, but I definitely wouldn't watch it again. It didn't really do a lot for me. What else you got? What else you been watching? Hopefully.
Well, I
better than
have just a couple of recent ones because we've got delayed. So,
Yes.
as I recovered, I had a bit more brain power to watch movies again.
Woohoo!
So, the first one I watched and barely made it through. Stupid head.
Yeah. Hang on, are you calling me a stupid head or are you... Gee, thanks.
There's a movie that came onto my radar that I ended up renting because it's a Kiwi indie horror. And for anyone who doesn't know, which is probably nearly everyone,
Yeah.
I'm a Kiwi.
Oh.
And I've just, now I've spent more of my life here, but I lived here for a few years when I was a kid. And so my accent went fully Aussie. And then I went back.
Yeah, did it though?
So my accent went back.
Yeah, right.
And then I came here again when I was 17. And I think because I have both accents locked away in my head. So when I came back, I just slipped back into the Aussie one, partly probably because I got sick of having a where are you from conversation every time I met somebody. But anyway, so it's been a while since I've watched one.
Yeah.
And this is about a guy who's got a lot of anxiety and he just wants to get away from everything, so he decides to go tramping, and it's so funny at the start. It's relatable because he gets to the track and then he's trying to like avoid people on the track because he doesn't want to have to speak to people.
Right.
And it's just really quite funny and sad because I would be wanting to do the same thing to avoid people.
Before we go further, does this movie have a title? Because
oh yeah, sorry, it's called it's called Loop Track.
Aha! There we go. Right.
So it's just come out this year. So
okay.
New release, and eventually he does talk to some people on the track, but he feels like there's something in the forest that's watching them.
Oh, okay.
And so it's a bit of a weird movie to watch because the guy is so like anxious and awkward that it's hard to watch him like interacting with people and everything, and he's just not it's a bit hard to be fully on board with him because it's kind of like he's so awkward.
Yeah, right.
But at the same time I kind of understand it. So but and then there's this other guy, one of the guys, he meets a guy and then a couple, and then because you know, when you go tramping, it's like a 9-hour track, and then there's a hut that you can stay in, and then you go walk the next day, and there's another hut along the way. So they kind of ends up with these guys at the hut, and this guy, the single guy, is like one of those people who just is really upbeat and won't shut up and keeps talking. So this guy is like trying to lose him and trying to he just wants to be alone, and this guy just keeps like engaging with him.
So essentially it's a story about you and me. Okay, yeah, I get it.
Anyway, that's pretty funny. Yeah. But yeah, I'm not, I guess, I don't know, it'd be pretty weird meeting up on a track.
Yeah.
But so the movie, a lot of people it's very much a slow burn movie, so a lot of people might get bored, but I feel like the characters are interesting enough that it's fine just being with them.
Right.
And then it's kind of the last 20 minutes that really gets going with what's in the forest and everything. And it's pretty funny because there's a reveal of like what the creature is. And when you see it, my first thought was like, oh, that's a bit silly.
Oh, okay.
But at the same time, once it keeps going, it just works.
Right.
And so, yeah, it's really fun. But I ended up looking up the one of the actors in it. He is a filmmaker as well.
Okay.
And so he's got a couple of films that he's done, and one of them has the main actor from this who also directed it. Right. So it's a very small knit team.
Yeah.
And he's got a couple of films on Tubi, so I'm gonna look them up. One is the first one I'm gonna watch is called Dead, which is about a guy who works out mixing, I think it's like pot with something, makes him able to talk to ghosts. Oh, wow. And then this guy is a cop who gets murdered when he's trying to track down a serial killer, and so they team up to, solve the case.
Right. Okay. Interesting.
But yeah, so that's pretty good. I recommend that.
Excellent. And whereabouts can people see that?
It's a rental.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, there was a movie that I watched. Okay, so oh god, when was it? Late 2000s, I think. At one point, because I had collected quite a few DVDs, but there was a time when I was trying to raise money to fund a short film that I was planning on making, and I wound up selling a whole bunch of DVDs because back then you could actually get money for them. And I had actually written a list of all the movies that I sold, because I thought one day I'll replace them. And so there was some, though, that over time I kind of thought, do I really want to replace that one? Not really. So I would, cross them off. But over time, it's kind of been fun, sort of, replacing things one by one on this list. But there was one movie that I got rid of that, I hadn't seen it since probably the early 2000s, and I couldn't remember why it was on the list. So, okay, in Australia, the movie is called The Hairy Bird. In the UK, it's called Strike with an exclamation mark. And in the US, it's called All I Want to Do. This movie has 3 titles in various parts of the world, which is freaking crazy. So it's essentially about it's set in the 60s, and it's about a girls' school where this new student comes along and befriends this group of troublemakers, and they find out that there are these plans by the school faculty to actually merge it with an all-boys school, and make it a co-ed school. So they kind of come up with this plan to try and, prevent that from happening and stuff. But it's got an amazing cast. Like Kirsten Dunst is in it, Rachel Lee Cook, Lynn Redgrave. There's a whole bunch of people. But there was also it was one of Hayden Christensen's early roles. And the funny thing was, I got through the whole film and I was like, I didn't see him in this film. And then I kind of Googled it, I was like, okay, where was he in the film? My God, he looks so different. Like, he's unrecognizable. Admittedly, his role is very small, but it's a pretty fun film. I gave it a 3 out of 5. It's not great. Like, I don't know if I'd ever really sort of need to, like, buy it again or whatever down the track. But it was fun. It definitely had like a really good sort of female empowerment, girl power message behind it. It was fun. It's worth a watch if anyone ever gets to check it out. It's on SBS On Demand in Australia if anybody wants to watch it here. I definitely recommend giving it a look if that's the sort of film that sounds like something you would be interested in. But that was another one that I watched. Yeah.
My last one, I watched All of Us Strangers finally.
You've been keen to see that.
Big fan of Andrew Scott, and I'm glad that he keeps getting more and more known and popular, because when I first knew him, no one talked about him, and now everyone knows who he is.
But they still don't talk about him.
Yes, they do.
Do they, though? I mean,
You're in the wrong places.
Yeah, okay, fair enough.
Anyway, so this was a weird movie, and I didn't really know what to expect. I knew the basic plot, which interested me because I actually used to have the book on my shelf that it's based on,
right,
which I never got around to reading, and I don't know what happened to it. I don't have it anymore. But it's about a guy who, his parents died when he was a kid, and then he sees them the same age as they were when they died.
Oh, okay.
And so in this version, it's really weird because I knew there was like a romance between him and Paul Mescal's character, and that's pretty much all I knew. Was there was that, and it was probably sad. And it's weird. He's in this like apartment building that seems to be completely empty except for these 2 units that they live in.
Mm.
And so it opens with Paul Mescal knocks on the door and is like, hey, well, no, there's a fire alarm. And so Andrew Scott evacuates, and it's just him out on the street.
Right.
And he sees Paul Mescal in the window, and then he goes back inside, and then he turns up at his door and is like, hey, you want a drink? And he's like, no. and then he goes away, and I'm like, okay, Paul Mescal seemed like really creepy. Is that like, we're going to get a romance now after he's been like, it just, it's weird.
Right. Okay.
But anyway, I think it's like he was drunk or whatever, because then like we meet him again and he's, you know, not the same.
Yeah.
But so it kind of follows their romance, but at the same time, Andrew Scott's character, I don't remember their names,
That's right.
is traveling back to some suburb where he used to live in the house with his parents, and he just going to his childhood home, and his parents are there the age when they died.
Right.
And so he's just like hanging out with them and then having this romance with Paul Mescal's character. And it kind of goes along from there. And Jamie Bell plays his dad and was really like a standout character for me, which he hasn't been before. So that was interesting. I thought he did a really good job. And the movie didn't completely grab me. It took me a while to get into it. Then I started getting more into it, and then the end happened, and obviously I can't talk about it, but that's all I want to talk about because it was such a ending, and I don't know how I feel about it, and I'm still thinking about it, and I'm still not sure. So
okay.
You'll have to watch it one day so that
It does. The
I can
premise,
talk about it.
The premise definitely intrigues me. I mean, you know, I'm already. I haven't even watched it, but I'm wondering, like, okay, what the hell? Like, how is his parents back? Like, yeah, okay, that's okay. Well,
but so I really want to talk about it, but I can't.
Yeah,
obviously. I don't know, and it was a hard one to rate because I'm like, it took me a long time to get into it, but then I kind of did. And then the end happened, which is quite interesting, but I don't know how I feel about it. And then how, you know, it's like putting the parts together to try and get an overall rating is a bit difficult. But it's an interesting watch. It's probably not, like, I won't be adding it to my collection. I don't think it has the whole rewatch thing, but I think it was really interesting.
See, the thing is, you know, I was going to say, like, okay, maybe you can, if you need that catharsis, you can let it out in the spoiler section later on. But no, I kind of want to see this film now. So I don't.
No, you need to see it because I can just tell you it, but I think you need to experience it first rather than just be told about it, because it probably won't like mean as much if you're just told it rather than experiencing it.
Like when Nobbins tells you like what happens in the Iron Claw and just kind of makes you think, well, I don't really need to watch it now. So I get that.
You still need to watch that though.
Yeah, we'll get there. But one movie that I did watch, which is also my final movie for this section, which has probably gone on longer than we normally. Oh yeah, wow, we're up to an hour and 13 minutes.
This is like a bumper episode because we have an extra.
Yes, that is true. That is true. So yeah. So back in 2021. Cruella was released, and I didn't really pay much attention to it. If I ever have seen 101 Dalmatians, it would have been when I was a kid. I didn't see the live action one with Glenn Close. I don't know, who cares? So that's how I kind of felt, you know, Cruella. I was like, okay, like, I like Emma Stone, but whatever. Anyway, back when Disney decided to be absolute buttholes and stop releasing physical media to Australia, our biggest electronics retailer, JB Hi-Fi, they did a massive sale of Disney films, and I went rummaging through their stuff, and I picked up Cruella, and I was looking at it, and I kind of thought, it was $8. I thought, look, I'm going to take a gamble on this film. What the hell? So I added that to my swag. Anyway, got home. That was months ago. Still hadn't watched it. But then a few nights ago, I thought to myself, maybe I'm in the mood for this movie tonight. Like, all right, let's give it a go. So 5 stars and 2 watches later, my God, this movie did everything for me. I'm going to read my Letterboxd review because I think it says everything. I love revenge movies. I love heist movies. I love anti-heroes. I love characters with dual personalities and moral ambiguity. I love the 70s punk movement. I love glam punk fashion. I love movies with banging soundtracks. I love Iggy and the Stooges. I love Emma Stone. I love awesome dogs, be they real or CG. What I don't love is how long I've gone not having any idea this movie would appeal to me the way it did. This movie ticked so many boxes for me, and I had a blast with every second from start to finish. Already cannot wait to watch it again, which I did 2 days later because I was like, oh my God, Kylie, you need to see this movie. This was one of the biggest surprises I've ever had. The first time I watched it, I was like, 5 stars straight away, boom, and then the second time I was like, okay, now hang on a second, just, whoa, horsey, let's just watch it a little bit more objectively and stuff. Nah, still 5 stars. I could not believe how much I loved this film. The character of Cruella was, actually, in a way, I kind of got why. Like, she did have Harley Quinn kind of vibes, she was this good person who was doing bad things and stuff. And, that's what I mean. I love characters like that. The look of the whole film. I mean, the movie thankfully won the Oscar for Best Costume Design because when you watch this thing, oh my freaking God. And actually, we got into the all the special features on the Blu-ray. I'm so glad I got the Blu-ray because the movie is on Disney Plus. But we got into all that stuff and oh man, there were it's like they said they would make costumes for background extras that looked like they should be on a lead character. And we're talking like hundreds of people in a scene, all with these amazing costumes. The production design was outstanding. Like I said, the whole 70s punk vibe, I just absorbed so much. The soundtrack, it's like every few minutes a song comes on, you're like, oh, I love this song. It's just non-stop, absolute bangers. I was gobsmacked by how much I loved that film, and it is breaking my heart that you can't watch it yet. Because...
Yeah, I saw the beginning of it when that Disney news happened. I was also looking to purchase, and I was like, I'm just going to watch the start of Cruella and see if it's worth picking up because I didn't have time to watch the full movie. Mm-hmm. And I found the message I sent you at the time where I was going on about the music and how many songs had played and all of it.
And that was just in the first 10 minutes, right?
Yeah, I only saw the beginning and already that all that stuff had happened. And so I bought it, but then I decided to start an Emma Stone project and watch all her films in order. So it's at the end of the list.
Oh, this is killing me because, I mean, as you know,
I have to get back to that project.
Nobbins watched it, gave it 4.5. Kylie watched it, gave it 4.5. The only reason she knocked it back a half star was because she did think that the 2.25 hour runtime was felt. I personally didn't. I could have gone another hour of that film. I didn't at all think that it outstayed its welcome in any way. But I wish you could watch it ASAP because I think you're going to love it. I know... I mean, you love a lot of the things that I listed, the reasons why I loved it, right? And actually, I'm glad that you bought it as well because there's so many great things on the behind-the-scenes stuff. Like, there were a lot of times where I thought the dogs were CG, but they weren't. I mean, admittedly, they did have some CG dog work in there, which, okay, you could tell it was CG, but it didn't matter. It didn't take away from the... It's sort of, if anything, it suited the look of the film. But no, there were actually a lot of moments that were real dogs that I had no idea about. But there's also, because I'm not familiar with 101 Dalmatians, there's a really great featurette on all of the ways it ties into the original cartoon, and there's some really clever tie-ins in this film. So yeah, look, and it's like Nobbins said, he never intended to watch it as it didn't seem like a movie for him, and that was the same thing with me. I just never thought it would appeal to me, but I am here to tell the world, which I'm so grateful that we have this podcast that we can get out there to the 3 people who listen. So yeah, no, do yourselves a favor, watch this movie, watch it over and over and over again, and love every second of it, because yeah, it's hard not to love that film.
And then also go watch Lisa Frankenstein and
Yes.
The Card Counter.
yes. So, well, I haven't seen The Card Counter, so I can't confirm. Do not watch Life.
Then you need to go watch it.
Do not watch Life or
Watch Life.
Cade the Tortured Crossing. Those 2 films are probably as bad as each
I
other.
can't believe you're lumping them together.
Actually, when you think about it, so Cade the Tortured Crossing, I gave 2 out of 5, which equates to 4 out of 10. So Cade the Tortured Crossing on my scale is better than Life, the movie. Not Life itself, but yeah. So
that's just wrong on so many levels.
All right.
I mean, you have Jake Gyllenhaal and Rebecca Ferguson and Ryan Reynolds. Like, already that just puts it above a Neil Breen film.
Frankie, Cade the Tortured Crossing has Neil Breen playing twin brothers, one with a really bad fake beard, okay? Don't get me started. All right. Well, there you go. That's what we've been watching over the last, 50 million weeks. So, what do you say we get stuck into talking about The Man of Iron?
Yeah.
Alrighty, so cast your minds back to a time, not that much of a better time, really, just a time. Anyway, that time was 2008, and superhero films, of course, we were getting a few of them. That was around the time of the Dark Knight trilogy, and we'd had a few sort of, the 90s gave us Blade and whatnot, but we didn't really sort of, we hadn't gotten right into superhero films. But along comes Iron Man, directed by Jon Favreau, starring Robert Downey Jr. in the title role, and everyone's like, oh, okay, Iron Man, that's an interesting choice. I suppose we'll go watch it. Not realizing that it was going to kick off the freaking biggest movie franchise in freaking history. Well, okay, it's up there with the biggest franchises, that's for sure. What are we, I don't know, 30-something movies into this franchise now, which is just insane. It's oh, hi, James Bond, hold my martini. But yeah, this was the film that kicked it all off. So, we're at the start of the film. We're introduced to Tony Stark, who is this...
I think it's the best introduction
in
a film. Just in the vehicle and the way he's talking to the soldiers. And he's like, oh, amazing. You're a woman. And
that opening scene tells you so much about the character, and you like him straight away. It's genius. But yeah, you're introduced to this character who out in Afghanistan sort of gets kidnapped by terrorists and to design or to build a weapon, but he's got shrapnel in his chest that's being kept at bay by a magnet that has been surgically put into him, which is a bit extreme. And instead he builds this sort of rudimentary costume, like a suit of armor with weapons and stuff, to escape from this place, to which he does. Has a change of heart, realizes that weapons manufacturing and selling weapons is bad, so he winds up putting his genius to good use and designs what we all know as the Iron Man suit, and begins a 30-something movie franchise, essentially. I mean, that's all there is to it. It's a simple film, but it's kind of brilliant. Did you see this at the cinemas when it first came out? No.
No, I think the first film I saw at the cinemas was, I don't remember the order, whichever came first between Ant-Man and Doctor Strange.
Ah, okay, right. Yeah, you came into it rather late then.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, but that's all right. But yeah, I mean, look, Iron Man. What's not to love? Come on, like, yeah. What are your
It's
thoughts
really
on
interesting going back now with all the other movies
it?
of like how contained it is. It's just,
Mm.
about him following him. We don't have all the other characters yet that have to fit in there and
Yeah.
that he has to talk to and everything. It's just really focused on him, which is really good.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh yeah. It's. Yeah, it was just so much goddamn fun. I mean, obviously there was a lot of things that were setting up, like Clark Gregg as Agent Coulson, with all the talk of S.H.I.E.L.D. and whatnot. I mean, and then, obviously the post-credit scene bringing Samuel L. Jackson into it. Like, they obviously knew, okay, like, this is the starting point. But, and it all comes down to Downey Jr.'s performance as that character. He, like I said, he's so likable. And through his actions as well, the whole way that he does have a change of heart and, decides, okay, yep, weapon's bad, I'm going to be a good guy. Like, I like that kind of thing, that sort of little redemption angle. I like his banter between... Pepper Potts, played by Gwyneth Paltrow, who so many people hate. I don't have a problem with. I think she's just fine.
I'm included.
Yeah, well, all right, fair enough.
My turn to have. She's one of those people that I just don't like to look at.
Yeah, no, that's understandable. Yeah, I know there's...
But I put up with her for Iron Man films.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. Hey, look, I'm still seeing pictures of Sydney Sweeney everywhere because of all this freaking Madam Web stuff, and I have a paper bag next to me that I can throw up in every time I look at her face. But yeah, like Terrence Howard, who was playing Rhodey at the time, who was of course later recast, but I loved the relationship between those two. That was a lot of fun. There was just so many fun things.
The little robot guys.
Damn it, you beat me to it. Yeah. Let's talk about the robots. Come on. I mean, how amazing was that writing and direction that they got such belly laughs out of robots that don't speak just through their mannerisms. Like, every time, he's telling that robot, like, that no, don't extinguish me, I don't need it and everything. And then, like, later on, the punchline is that, when he comes crashing through the roof, the robot just comes down. That was so much fun. For me personally, I wasn't a huge fan of the villain in it, which of course was Obadiah Stane, played by Jeff Bridges. I thought the terrorists, from the Ten Rings were more interesting, to be honest. I liked the way that Jeff Bridges played the character. He did come across as, especially like how he's always got the cigar and the big beard and everything. Like he had that kind of like, corporate arrogance behind him, which I thought was really good. But just as a character, I just thought he was kind of And then, so he gets a, even bigger suit by the end, and that's fine, but it's sort of like, is that the best they could do, but that's only a minor gripe. Like, overall, it was just so much fun. And even actually having the Ten Rings in there as the, terrorist organization. I mean, that of course, comes into play later on in Iron Man 3 with Ben Kingsley as the Mandarin, who everybody hated because that wasn't how you do it in the comic books, damn it. But I thought he was great, personally, because I'm not a Marvel Comics reader.
I was just going to say, sometimes it's nice to not know the comics.
Yes,
so you can just take things as, who's this guy? And then just go with it.
All those years of reading DC have paid off. Overall, I thought it was a lot of fun. I liked also watching it again now, knowing what happens with Tony Stark much later on in Infinity War and Endgame especially, which was just look, it's not a spoiler, everybody's seen it. Such a great send-off for that character. And yeah, so it's just sort of had that kind of, bit of sweetness, I guess, in a way, like, watching it, like, where his character started. Love the very end of the movie as well, just with that mic drop, I am Iron Man. I loved that ending. It was so cool. Yeah.
I think Tony Stark's always been one of my favorite characters through just so good at banter. You gotta love a funny guy, and that he just doesn't care. And it's just
he's
fun.
arrogant without being like an awful person. He's just a bit of a smart ass. Like he knows he's great, but at least he's got the skills and everything to prove it. I mean, to back it up. I mean, it is. I mean, I was going to say, like, of course, it's totally far-fetched, the fact that he's got all this equipment that can build all this stuff and everything. But it's a Marvel film, so of course it's going to be far-fetched. The one thing that really bugged me in a really big way, and I almost can't watch those moments, is the stuff where things are coming out or going into his chest cavity. Oh man, that moment where he gets Pepper Potts to like reach in and grab the wire and pull it out, is like, man, that is just awful. It just makes me kind of feel sick. And then later on, when Obadiah Stane, takes the thing when he's like paralyzed on the couch, and he like sort of takes out and like just I don't know. I have a big problem with that. It's really, really gross for me. But
it's just really funny for a horror fan to
for
be like
that,
mad about something.
I know, like I can watch Evil Dead Rise and watch people getting dismembered and ripped apart with chainsaws or whatever else. Like that's fun. Whereas something like that, I guess maybe it's the context or something. Like I don't know, but yeah, it's ew. And when Pepper reaches in to take the wire out and she's like, ooh, it smells, and there's like
that was like, the worst part when she's like, there's pus, and then he's explaining that it's not, it's other stuff, but I'm just like, you're still picturing the texture on your hand. And
exactly, and the way that she says how bad it smells, like that, it's funny, like that one little line adds a whole new layer to that grossness of that scene, because I don't want to know that it smells as well as being gross, but anyway, but no, look, overall, really fun film, very cool film.
I really liked the scene with the jets as well, when he's flying and they don't know what it is.
Yeah, that was so much fun. I mean, it's kind of funny, like now, after 30 million movies, we've seen Iron Man do so many things now, and so I guess watching that stuff now, it's overshadowed a little bit, but I mean, I still remember what it was like. I mean, because I've been fortunate enough that I've seen every single MCU film in the cinemas from 2008, and so it was very wow stuff back then, but I did like it. I did like it a lot. So, All right. So, we're getting now into our brand new segment, which we are calling Hit or Shit. For those of you who may have missed the last episode, or if this is the first time that you're tuning in to our podcast, ordinarily, Frankie and I will give each other a choice of three mystery films. We will give each other basically three reviews from either Rotten Tomatoes or Letterboxd, and we've got a blind pick a movie to watch for homework to talk about for the next one. This time round, we decided to introduce our new segment, Hit or Shit, where we would pick an actor, in which case Frankie chose Jake Gyllenhaal, and we picked two movies that neither of us had seen. Which in this case were Love and Other Drugs and Everest. And basically, we're going to talk about now if they were hits or shits. Yeah. So which one should we talk about first? What are you leaning
let's start
towards?
with my one.
All right. So we're going to talk about love and other drugs. So yes, you chose that one. So
Yeah.
take it away. What's this movie about?
Well, I picked this one because it was a rom-com with him and Anne Hathaway. And so I just thought, well, I love a good rom-com. I like Jake Gyllenhaal. I like Anne Hathaway. What can go wrong? And I watched the trailer. Like, I know you started watching it one night, and I watched the trailer because a while ago I went through Jake's filmography and I watched a few trailers, but I couldn't remember this one. So I watched it again and I'm like, oh yeah, this looks like so much fun. I can't wait to watch it. And then I got your report the next morning when I woke up and you said it was not funny, which surprised me from the trailer. And yeah, then I watched the movie and realized the trailer is quite misleading of the type of film that it is.
Oh my god, is it ever? So this film, oh my god. Okay, so Jake Gyllenhaal plays a guy named Jamie Randall, and I'm even trying to remember the film now. So
actually, I do want to mention the opening scene that also made me think this was going to be an awesome movie, because very opening scene, all I'd seen was the awesome trailer. Opened with Jake's working in a small electronics store, and it's like a montage of him being really awesome selling stuff to people. Two Princes is playing, and it's just opening. I don't know if the opening credits were over the top, but it's just the music playing, and he's doing all this thing and dancing with this little girl, and
because it's
just being charming to this old lady.
Set in 1996, of course. So yeah.
And then later on, Cannonball's playing.
Yes.
And so I'm like, oh, this opening scene has all this great music. This is like, oh, I'm so ready for this rom-com.
I even wrote in my notes, 1996 opening fun. I thought, yeah, okay, this is cool. So yeah, he gets fired from his job. He's looking for a new career path, and he becomes like a pharmaceutical salesman, going around to doctors' offices and selling drugs to doctors.
I have to say, in these post-pandemic times, it was a little jarring that he was off at his training thing, and it was this big fancy stage show, and it was all like, Pfizer!
That's right.
And I'm just like, oh.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that was very over the top, but I mean, it's America,
I know,
so...
it is. Yeah. I know that, it is that kind of industry.
So while he's in a doctor's office one day, he meets Maggie Murdoch, who is played by Anne Hathaway, and he witnesses her boob. So because he's a ladies' man, he decides that, well, she confronts him in the parking lot, and she hits him and he hits on her. But then she decides to give him a go because she's a nymphomaniac, and so the two of them, like, over lunch or drinks or whatever, like, decide that they're gonna just fuck each other's brains out. And so he finds out that she's an epileptic. No, not an epileptic. She has Parkinson's disease. That's right. That, like I said, it's been a while since I saw her. She's got Parkinson's disease, and that is supposed to mean something. And then you kind of, you just wonder why the fuck these people are together. Like,
it was. I liked some of the banter that they isolated in the trailer, because there's that whole thing of he's, the ladies' man, and he's saying this stuff, and she's like, does that line really work? And just kind of refuting stuff, and that's typical rom-com stuff, but then it went somewhere else.
It was rom without the com. So I thought there was a lot of boring medical jargon in the film, which made me kind of confused in a lot of ways. Like, I didn't really get, what was he actually doing? Like, what was sort of, I don't know. There was a lot of medical jargon. I thought the characters were annoying. Like, I don't know. I just couldn't get behind either of them, really. Even though...
Yeah, it's hard with a romantic film that you don't really care about either character. And a lot of rom-coms have a terrible guy who, just goes after all the girls until he meets the right one and all of that. But what was that movie with Chris Evans and
Captain America?
No.
Oh.
The one with what's her name? And like how many guys you've slept with. What's your number?
Oh, right.
Yeah. What's your number? That was really fun. He's ladies' man, just sleeping with all these girls. Then he meets her, and that's really bugging me who she is.
But the thing is, like...
But, you still... It's like the whole thing of they're nice guys, really, so you're kind of wanting them to get together, whereas this movie, he wasn't a nice guy.
No, there's a scene later on in the film where he's cheating on...
Anna Faris, that's who it was.
Right.
Movie.
There's a scene later on in Love and Other Drugs where Jake Gyllenhaal's character is actually, like, sleeping with somebody else. I mean, that's the thing. If he actually had a redemption arc, if Maggie actually, brought out the nice guy in him and changed his life and all of that sort of stuff, fine. But he was still an a-hole by the end of the film. And that's the thing. Like, there was something that I wrote in my notes. Maggie asks Jamie why he wants her. Like, because there is a scene where after they've had sex for the 137th time, like, she says to him, like, like, why do you want me? Like, why am I so important to you? And I'm sitting there and I'm like, yeah, why? Like, there's nothing that these characters bring to each other's lives other than genitalia that would make their lives better. There was just nothing that I liked about their characters and their story. I didn't think the film felt like the 90s. There's a lot of films that are set in the 90s and, like,
I missed the little pop-up saying what year it was at the beginning. I didn't notice that. So I didn't even realize it was meant to be set in the 90s.
That's the thing.
I thought there was just, like, interesting music choices, and then I didn't really think about it after that. I suppose, no one had cell phones and things.
Well,
didn't clock that.
I mean, there was just nothing really that sort of made me sit there thinking, oh man, I'm getting so much 90s nostalgia here, I mean, you look at a film like Captain Marvel, I mean, they did the 90s nostalgia so well with that. Whereas this one, I mean, there was a really good supporting cast. You had people like Oliver Platt, Hank Azaria, Judy Greer, who I love, and I'm not just saying that because of Greer. Josh Gad was kind of annoying, but I mean, he's still a likable actor. So yeah, like, the cast was really good. It maybe might have had potential, but yeah, I did not like the film. I
actually, they seemed so mismatched, and I just wasn't into it. I actually got to a certain point in the film and I was like, I don't even know how this is going to end. Like, I don't know how I mean, it's a rom-com, you know how it's going to end, but it just didn't seem like that kind of movie. And then I just didn't know how they were going to overcome everything to end up together at the end, because it just didn't seem like that kind of film. Yeah. It was really weird.
Yeah. So, look, I mean, personally, having given this the same rating that I gave Cade the Tortured Crossing, and this pains me to say because it was directed by Edward Zwick as well, who has done some extraordinary films, like The Last Samurai, Legends of the Fall. He's done, like, amazing films. But, I gave this film 2 out of 5 stars, and I would classify this as shit. How'd you go?
I have 2 more notes because I wasn't done. Did you notice that in one conversation they're talking about saying "I love you," and I didn't write down who it was. I think it was Anne Hathaway's character, and she said, "I once said it to a cat."
Oh, yeah, that's right.
That's pretty cool. And also, there's a scene where Jake Gyllenhaal is chasing after a bus that she's on, and then when the bus stops, and he runs up to the door, and it smacks him in the face, and I thought that was pretty great.
Yeah.
I also gave it 2 stars and would call it shit, which pains me because I thought because Jake Gyllenhaal's filmography, he kind of goes for really different and interesting roles, and so I was excited that he actually did a rom-com, but it turns out he didn't.
And if you recall, you did say to me the night that I was watching it that, if anything, at least I'll have naked Anne Hathaway to keep me going through this thing. And I was like, oh, is she naked in this thing? And you're like, well, yeah, look at the poster and stuff. And I was like, oh, yeah. And yeah, there was a lot of Anne Hathaway in this film.
Yeah, it was more than I thought there was going to be.
Yeah. Wow, was there ever? But and this is probably the one thing that I can say which really emphasizes what I thought of this film. I even got to a point where I was like, oh, yeah, look, it's Hathaway's boobs again. Wow, great. Like, if that doesn't say, my feelings on the film, then nothing will. Because, yeah, I was just like, oh, just put your clothes on, Hathaway. Seriously. I don't even care anymore.
Actually, the one thing I did really like in the film was her apartment. That was a really cool apartment. I would like to live like that. Because it was all like big windows. It was like warehouse style open apartment with like all glass windows down the side. So the light was nice. It was just really cool.
I was too distracted by her boobs to notice the windows, but that's I am a male, and yeah, I'm sticking to it. So there you go. All right, so that one was obviously a complete train wreck. Thanks to you for picking that one. So let's move on to the film.
Did you watch the trailer? I did not know what we were going to get from the trailer.
I watched the trailer after I saw the film, and I was like, "What? That is not the film that I just saw."
You can see why I was excited for it from the trailer.
Yeah, all right. But on to the film that I chose. I just want to make sure that everybody understands that this was my choice. It was the film Everest from 2015, which tells the true story of 2 groups of hikers going up Everest. Hikers seems like a very understated word. Yeah. 2 groups of adventurous mountain climbing super people who I don't know, who are climbing Everest, and once they reach the top, a really devastating storm hits, and all hell breaks loose, and it is just made even more hellish by the fact that this actually happened. And the thing that I had in my notes was, did you realize both movies were set in 1996?
No, like I said, I didn't even notice the other one was.
It came up at the start, 1996. I'm like, wait a minute, what the hell?
Wow, so at the same time...
Exactly!
as a terrible non-love story was happening with these poor people on the mountain.
Yes, exactly. While Hathaway was getting them out, those people were getting perished, but... so I chose this one because I love a good survival story, especially like a movie like Against Nature and stuff. Now, we have not talked about this film at all, so I'm very curious as to what you thought of this film.
I thought it was really good. I noticed the sound design was really good. It's like the opening shot of the movie is on the mountain and the wind whistling, and you could almost feel the cold just from the sound design. I actually didn't know that this was based on a real story and that it was New Zealand people, and so that was really interesting to suddenly have all the accents. And then to have like a Christchurch version of Keira Knightley, that was really weird. And then of course, hey, Martin Henderson, of course, he's in a movie that's got some New Zealand characters. But yeah, so it was really good, really interesting to, well, sad, but interesting that it's based on a real thing that happened.
Yeah, look, that fascinated me so much. What you were saying about accents, can we just take a moment to talk about Emily Watson? Now, how authentic and convincing was her accent? Obviously, I'm not a New Zealand native, but I've been around enough New Zealanders to know what they sound like. And I was gobsmacked by how authentic, like, just the tiniest little nuances and inflections in her voice just sounded so authentic. Keira Knightley, I thought, as well, did a fantastic job with her accent as well.
I've heard it said that a New Zealand accent's one of the harder ones to do well.
Yeah, 100%. But yeah, so this movie's got a stacked cast. We got Jason Clarke is pretty much the main or the lead character. I'm going to use the word characters here, even though these are real people. So yeah.
Well, I mean, it's based on, so it's still.
Yeah. So he's the main one, Rob Hall. We've got Josh Brolin, John Hawkes, who I loved in From Dusk Till Dawn. Did you recognize he was the liquor store guy at the start of the film who in Benny's World of Liquor?
No, I had to look up where I recognized him from, and it wasn't that. It was
right.
Because I recently started watching Deadwood, and he's one of the guys in that, and I was like, that's why I know your face.
Right. No, he'll always be From Dusk Till Dawn for me. Sam Worthington, as I said, Emily Watson, Martin Henderson, Michael Kelly, who was, of course, in the Dawn of the Dead remake as the security guy with the handlebar mustache who listens to Pantera, and some guy, Jake Gyllenhaal, I don't know, but did you also notice little Mia Goth was in this film?
Yeah. I saw her name pop up and I was like, and I didn't really think about how old the movie was compared to how old she was, and I was like, I wonder who she's going to be. And then when she turned up, I was like, wow, she's so young.
I recognized her face, because she's one of the little kids, and
you can tell it's her.
She hasn't changed since she was like whatever 8 years old, or I don't know. That was absolutely crazy, but look, I freaking loved this film. I was so lucky enough because when we were talking about this film, I did some research on it and discovered that there was a 3D release, so I jumped on that immediately, went onto eBay, I found it for super cheap, got a 3D Blu-ray of it, and I do not regret that decision. Those scenes like when Josh Brolin's character is climbing, walking over the ladder between the two sides of the chasm that just drops down 50 million miles. When, you got that overhead shot of him and stuff, things like that in 3D were just mind-blowing. There were moments where I flinched from the screen, there was... there was like an avalanche or something, and there were like big snowballs that were just rolling down like right at the camera, and like, wow, that made me flinch. There were, for the 3D fans out there, absolutely get this film. It is an essential 3D film. When we were talking about the start of the film, there was something that I noticed. Now, I don't know if it was a glaring mistake that only Australians would pick up, but so it was set in Auckland, when the characters are all kind of getting together and meeting each other.
Christchurch.
I thought there was a scene in Auckland at the start.
Was there? I don't know. I just saw that they were in Christchurch at the beginning because that's where they were from.
Right. But there was a signpost and it had all these, like capital city signs and stuff, but it had Brisbane that way and Adelaide that way. And I'm sitting there like, hang on a second. Now, I'm no geography expert, obviously, but I'm pretty sure those are in Australia. And so I wasn't sure if that scene was actually filmed in Australia and they accidentally left that in there or something. But anyway, that was just a little sort of thing. But I did kind of also think maybe it had like other sort of international cities over in New Zealand. I don't know.
Yeah, it could have been one of those tourist things that
Yeah,
do point like how far
London,
away you are
Madrid.
from certain places.
Yeah. I didn't sort of dwell on it long enough to kind of look into it. But anyway, that was a bit of fun. But yeah, I thought this film delivered everything I wanted from a film like that. It had tension out the wazoo. I thought the characters were designed in a way that you really liked them and you really wanted everybody to make it through this situation. I obviously there's going to be a lot of things we'll be talking about in the sealed section with this film.
Yeah.
But so initially I was thinking, like with you and Kylie, I was going to give this movie 4 stars, but it was then we went and watched the bonus features on the Blu-ray disc. I was gobsmacked at how much of this film was shot against a green screen. I genuinely thought they just, picked a similar mountain to Everest or whatever and filmed a lot of it on actual mountains because everything looked so freaking real. But no, there were all these behind the scenes things of how they, constructed the top of Mount Everest in a sound stage, and filmed everything on a green screen. There's a lot of green screen. Actually, did you get around to watching that video that I sent you on YouTube? Yeah. Okay, so you know what I'm talking about. And because of the sort of technical wizardry that went into creating this film, I bumped it up a half star because I applaud the filmmakers for what they did, because there was not a single moment in the entire film where I thought to myself, oh, that's special effects, or, oh, that's obviously got to be, filmed on a soundstage or whatever. Like, everything looked completely believable to me. Did you get that feeling as well?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not one to really notice stuff like that anyway, unless it's something super obvious. But yeah, it definitely felt really real that they were actually there.
Yeah. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff on YouTube for all those out there who might want to look into it. About the making of the film, because that's the thing, like, it's always the sign of a good film when you want to know more. And so Kylie and I got to the end of this film, we exhausted the disc of all its special features, but then we also went onto YouTube and we looked at things like there was a 60 Minutes article about Beck Weathers, who was the character played by Josh Brolin, and you know what happens to him. There was a 60 Minutes article from the 90s about that person, and we even went and watched that. We were just like, oh my god, we need to know so much more about these people. And I think that's always the sign of a good film, is when you want to know more. So yeah, I just I can't even remember why I didn't give it a perfect score. I think maybe it was the sort of film that it's not the sort of thing you can kind of go and rewatch over and over again, and it was rather depressing at the end of the day. I do get that it was designed in that way, that to be thankful for your own lives and what you have in it, and that you didn't go through a situation like that. But yeah, it is kind of a tough watch at times, but yeah, no, overall, I dug it. I did. So, yeah.
Me too.
So, I'm guessing this one's a hit.
Yeah.
Woo!
At least we had one hit.
Yes, at least we don't have 2 shits. Which is a very weird thing to say, but anyway. Yeah. So, that movie... well, I think you can rent it on Amazon for all those interested. Love and Other Drugs. If you do want to see it for whatever reason, I mean, if you're a guy, Anne Hathaway. Yeah, that's on Disney Plus. Iron Man is, of course, on Disney Plus, so that's where you can find all these films. But yeah, like I said, if you're a 3D fanatic, definitely get the Everest 3D Blu-ray because, yeah, that will not be a disappointing decision. So there you go. All right. Is that everything that we have to say that isn't spoilery?
I think so.
All right, so that's the movies for this week. We've already announced that we're doing The Crow next week, which, not next week, next fortnight, which, of course, I'm very, very excited to talk about. But we're back to the traditional format now of doing our 3 random reviews. Who's going first on this one?
I'll go first because mine are crap.
Wow,
the movies
okay.
are good. The reviews are not.
Wow, all right. Well,
So
give it to me.
all my picks are sort of related to current or upcoming films. So
Right.
I've got a shared actor, a shared director, and a shared story,
Okay.
genre type.
All right. And you're
Okay.
going to give me the Rotten Tomatoes scores as well this time, aren't you?
just to show that these are good films, even though I've only found crappy reviews for them. Well, not crappy, but they just don't tell you a lot. So,
All right.
okay, so the first film has a 79% on Rotten Tomatoes with a 78% audience score. What I like best is the structure and how seemingly frivolous subplots come together and inform the others in crucial ways during a hilarious screwball climax.
Ooh, okay. I do like a screwball climax.
The second film has a 74% rating and 63% audience. Most horror fans have seen more than enough possession stories by now, so it's a good thing this quick and creative chiller has a few new wrinkles to throw our way.
Okay.
And the last one has 92%
Ooh.
with 81% audience.
Wow.
A captivating experience thanks in large part to the main actor's powerful performance,
Right.
with the payoff only elevating the journey into something even more satisfying.
I'm leaning towards the first one. That review actually sounded really good to me. So, yeah.
Well, I was kind of hoping you'd pick that one. It's a movie I'm interested to see again. Well, I like all the films, but there's a few things in this that are amazing and the rest not so much, so it's kind of one of those weird ones for me, but the things that are good are like really good. And there was something you actually shared the other day that reminded me of it, which I won't tell you because I don't want to spoil what's coming, but you did something and I'm like, oh, that reminds me of the thing from the film. You need to watch that film.
Well,
so
what film is it? I gotta know.
Crazy Stupid Love.
Ah, right. Okay, this is a film that I have actually had on my radar for a little while now. And yeah, because you saw it not that long ago and talked a lot about it, right? That's the one that I'm thinking of.
Well, I talked a bit about it because it's a weird one. I think I said, I'm just finding my review. 5 stars for all the scenes with Emma Stone and Ryan Gosling together. So funny, so cute. And then the rest is a bit of a mixed bag.
That's right, because you watched this after you watched La La Land. Is that correct?
Uh,
I think it was around the time that you got into La La Land and we were talking about this film and yeah.
I watched it for a podcast originally.
Oh, okay, right.
Because they were going to talk about it.
Okay. But yeah, no, I'm very curious to see this film. So yeah, no, I'm actually.
It was around the same time.
I thought so.
Yeah.
See, I pay attention. All right, cool. Yes, no, I'm very, very keen to see that film. So thank you very much for giving me that one. All right, now as for your films, I got the Rotten Tomatoes, the critic score. I didn't get the audience score, sorry. So You're going to have to
matter.
deal with that. I've learnt my lesson. Next time I'm going to go around the neighborhood and knock on doors.
I only
and
just
ask
thought
for
I'd put them
people's
there because the
opinions.
audience ones were all pretty high as well. There wasn't any huge differences, so I thought.
Yeah. Anyway, okay, so this first film has a 96% critic score, and I'm pretty sure the audience score would have been astronomical as well. The review excerpt that I've got says, this contains enough suspenseful set pieces, clever red herrings, and spectacular stunt work to satisfy most thriller aficionados. Yet what really makes the movie work are the performances by the two leads. So that's the first one. The second one that I've got... Actually, hang on a second. Nope, I've screwed up. Or have I? Hang on. Hold the phone. No. That was the one I was... Yeah, okay. Never mind. My computer's just being a bit of a weirdo at the moment. The second one that I've got, it only has a 60% Rotten Tomatoes critic score, but I am pretty sure that this might sweeten the deal a little. I'm pretty sure in this film there is a Bon Jovi song that was on the soundtrack, so I'll throw that in there. But the review is... There's something entertaining about watching two adults shooting at each other and destroying their belongings, all in the name of therapy. So there's that one. And then the final one that I've got has a 77% critic score. And the review excerpt says, fortunately, this is a film that isn't afraid to cross the line with its material, but does so in such a clever manner that it makes... this film, one of the spring's more entertaining cinematic experiences. So, those are your choices.
I'm gonna pick the first one.
Oh, okay. So, you're picking the suspenseful set pieces, the clever red herrings, the spectacular stunt work. You're going with that one?
Yeah.
All right. You are going to be watching The Fugitive with Harrison Ford and Tommy Lee Jones.
Oh. I think I might have seen that or parts of it when I was super young.
Well, you didn't rate it on Letterboxd.
Well,
so
no, because I don't remember. So it's one of those that I'm not sure if I've seen the whole thing.
Yeah.
And it's so long ago that I don't remember it anyway. So.
It's like a first time watch for you. So,
yeah.
That is a film that, I rewatched it. It was years ago now, but... it just still blew my mind how even to this day that film still holds up. And I know that Nobbins has got to this point of the podcast right now and is like, yes! Oh my god! The Fugitive! He'll probably even rewatch it so he can join in with the fun of it all. But So, alright. So, the next episode, coming at you in 2 weeks, we will be discussing The Crow, Crazy Stupid Love, and The Fugitive. Which, I reckon that's going to be 3 hits if you ask me. Yeah.
And Crazy Stupid Love is on Stan.
Excellent. All right. Well, that's good. I don't know where The Fugitive is streaming.
Well, it's on Binge. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
If it's anywhere else.
Right. I reckon you're going to love that film so much that you're going to add it to your collection. I am throwing that out there right now. So, it is for rent on Amazon, but, I've got the DVD in my collection. Actually, that is a movie that I would upgrade to Blu-ray, to be honest. To me, that is a near-perfect film, but, anyway. Alright, well, that is going to conclude all the non-spoilerish chatter that we've got for everybody, so... for those of you who want to hear spoilers about Love and Other Drugs and Everest and what else? Iron Man. That was it. I remember now. Stick around. We'll jump into the spoiler section in a moment. But for everybody else who doesn't want to hear spoilers, we will bid thee adieu. And stay safe. Watch lots of movies. Come back in 2 weeks' time. We'll see you then. But for now, it's spoiler time! Okay, so here we go. Spoiler time. I don't know if there's a lot that we can say that's spoilerish about Iron Man. Is there? I mean,
Not really, because it's typical
it just doesn't.
superhero movie. It just goes along. It's a
Yeah,
big fight at the end. He survives, obviously, and
until he doesn't later on in the franchise. But like I said, that's not even really a spoiler because everybody knows by now. Yeah, all right. What about Love and Other Drugs? Do we have any spoilers for that one?
well, I mean, this is not really a spoiler because it's a supposed rom-com that they end up together at the end, which is I I that's the kind of couple that you're pretty sure broke up really soon after the end of the movie.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't know why the hell they were together. They brought nothing to each other's lives. I definitely didn't have any spoilers for it. I did actually one thing I did sort of forget to mention before. I thought the whole Parkinson's thing just sort of kept coming and going. Like it wasn't. Did it need to be in the plot at all? I mean, there were just
Well,
whole
that
times.
was the main conflict, and like, you know, when he talks to the guy at the conference thing.
Yeah, I know, but it sort of felt like the story only reminded us that she had Parkinson's when it felt convenient. You know, it wasn't done
Well, yeah, when
effectively.
that first came up in the film, I was like, that scene in the room, because it was such a rare thing to have early onset Parkinson's. So, and the way she talked and everything, and had cash, I was like, oh, is she just faking it to get drugs for some reason? And I thought that was setting up a thing, not that it was going to be like the main plot that she has this disease.
Yeah. See, if oh man, you should be a screenwriter because if she had been that sort of person, and he had been this terrible womanizer, and they got together, and she made him realize, hey, womanizing is bad. I found my soulmate, and she sort of thought like, hey, this is a man who I can aspire to be part of his life and give up this life of con artistry or whatever. Like that would have been a better story. Yeah. All right. We need to
Because
get
the
on
way
to
that she was offsetting his like lines and everything in the trailer, like she just seemed like that personality that she could be a con artist because the way she was talking and everything.
Yeah, instead
So,
she was just a
I
shit
don't know.
character. Anyway, Everest, on the other hand, everybody dies. Well, not everybody. Was
I forgot to bring up something before, which isn't a spoiler for the film, but
okay.
just that when I went on Letterboxd afterwards, I was surprised all the hate in the comments about, it's just rich white men doing stupid things. And like everyone was really anti because it's, rich people who can go climbing on the mountain. And there was just all this hate for that. And then there were some people who said it was really boring. And I'm just like, what?
Oh, for fuck's sake. Okay. So, Beck Weathers, who was on the 60 Minutes article that we watched, who wound up losing his hands and his nose, or his fingers. What was it? Actually, no, I think it was his entire hands. But yeah, he had to have a surgically reconstructed nose and everything because of the frostbite. Like, but everybody freaking dies. And that was why I thought the movie was so fucking depressing, was because you really want all these people to get off the mountain, but barely anybody does.
You know what the awful scene was? I mean, it did redeem itself later, but when he's laying there and you see, like, people came and took a couple of people away, and then the guy Beck, like, you see that he moves and kind of notices people were there but can't like call out or anything, and then he just gets left there, and I was like, oh, he's not going to die now, is he? Because that was just make it extra sad that he moved and everything, whereas the other girl was already gone.
Yeah, so that climber Yusuko Namba, the Japanese girl, that was eerie. The way that she was like she looked like a dead person. That was spooky. The way she was laying there with her arm just kind of frozen with fingers gnarled or whatever. And it was like, that's really disturbing shit. But no, Beck Weathers was saying, in the 60 Minutes thing that, like, it was just his resolve and determination. Like, he was going to see his kids again. Like, he was going to get off that damn mountain, and that was inspiring. But oh man, it was just such a tragic story.
This movie just shows that you should always stick to your safety rules.
Yeah,
not bend the rules because
if you've got somebody like Doug,
yeah.
Damn it, Doug, played by John Hawkes, who just had to get up there and had to put his little fucking flag or whatever it was on there, and he had to do all that. Like, if it weren't for him, yeah, that might have been a different outcome. But yeah, so yeah, it did make it a much more gripping story. The fact that you don't know who is going to make it at the end if you don't know the true story, which I didn't going into it. And so, but then by the time so many people are dead, it's like, oh my God, like, I really don't know who is actually going to survive this. It's, and that made for some really compelling
the scene with Martin Henderson, like how he goes back up with the oxygen and then they end up huddling there and then he gets that thing that people get where they feel really hot.
Yeah.
And starts taking his clothes off and then just slips and boom, gone.
I know, that was such a surprise, wasn't it? There was, that's the thing. It was so compelling. There were so many surprises, and I mean, when I say surprises, it's not like, oh wow, cool, that's so fun. It's more like, oh no, please don't, please. Oh God, you did. So, but no, just the outcome of that. You can tell why it was a story that needed to be told and needed to be turned into a film. To honor all of these people. And I like at the end, how they show all the photographs of the real people, and especially that big group photo, which was so well recreated, with the
I noticed that seems to be a thing now in films based on real stories, that a lot of them show the photos at the end and have do the recreations during the film as well, and then show you at the end the actual photo of the people.
Oh yeah,
which just makes it. But it's kind of interesting. You kind of get to the end and you want to see the real people that it was based on. So it's kind of cool that they show you them at the end. Yeah,
no, that was definitely all signs of a great film. So, and unlike Cade the Tortured Crossing, it did green screen really well. So there you go. Yeah. Well, that's the only spoilers I had for that one. Was that everybody dies? Yeah. So, yeah. All right. Well, what do you reckon? Shall we get out of here?
Yeah, it's late.
Yeah, it is. You still need to rest because, you're still testing positive. I know. Everybody send your sympathies and good wishes to Frankie. Her address is... No, just kidding. But if you...
The plus side is I get to work from home, so that helps.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't have gone to work anyway because I've still got a bit of a cough, so I'm definitely not going to be out on public transport. But yes, when I tested this morning and saw it's still positive, then I was like, well, at least I have the most valid reason to not go into the office.
I will be hitting up the Ghostbusters Frozen Empire premiere on Wednesday for the both of us. I will be representing both of us there.
Bad timing. We haven't had many movie premieres. And
I know.
I really want to see that movie. And
I really wanted to do a movie review episode with you of that one. So you'll have to try and see it as soon as you can, so we can do a review episode. Yeah, so
it depends. All depends on my throat.
It does indeed,
and my test status, of course.
Well, yeah, there's that too.
But that surely will be gone by the weekend. So it's more the cough and getting rid of that, so I can sit in air conditioning for 2 hours.
Exactly,
or longer, probably.
Alrighty, well, in that case, we're going to get out of here. Thank you, everybody, for sticking around in the sealed section. And yeah, if you want to chat to us, if you want to send Frankie some well wishes, you can find us on the socials at Dan_and_Frankie. We're on Twitter and Facebook, or you can email us at Dan and Frankie podcast at either Outlook or gmail.com. And you can send us poems and stories and all sorts of things, whatever people do with emails these days. I don't know, that's weird, but so thank you very much for sticking around. Stay tuned for the next one and watch lots of movies, and we will see you then.